Hello everyone, this is the Savvy Miner. You can check out all our tutorial videos over at thesavvyminer.com. Today's tutorial is on how to optimize AMD graphics cards. AMD graphics cards are really excellent for mining, but not when you take them out of the box. Straight out of the box, they're actually pretty shitty. So I've got an Aurora R7 here with two AMD 580 8GB cards. And we're mining Ethereum here using the Claymore miner. And if you talk to the experts, what you would expect out of each card is you should be seeing about 30 megahash per second out of each card. And here we've made no modifications. We just fired this thing up and we're looking, and it says the total speed is 32 megahash, which maybe leads you to believe, wow, we're doing great. But that's the total speed for the two cards combined. We're only seeing about 15 to 16 megahash per second on each card. And this really sucks because you spend a lot of money on the cards. They're way overpriced right now because all the miners are buying them. And so we've got to figure out a way to get our half cards up to full card speed. And again, that's the focus of this tutorial. Two quick tips before I walk you through the steps. 1, grab your drink of choice. And 2, put the children away because there will be some swearing involved on your part. There are 3 parts to this tutorial. In part 1, we're going to modify the driver that we use. In part 2, we're going to do something called flashing the GPU BIOS. In step 3, we're going to make some changes to the cards to the clock speed and the memory speed of the card. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is close out our miner, and really you should close out any application that's open on the computer right now. We modify the driver. You right click in the window, you'll see something that says AMD settings. Do that on the desktop. You can also go down the Windows button here and go into your program list, and it's under AMD settings, and you can click on that link right there. That'll open up Radeon settings, and you want to click on gaming. And then you want to click on global settings. What I want to draw your attention to here is, one, you can see that I have 2 graphics cards here. You may have 1 or 2 or more. And in this box here that says GPU workload, it's set to graphics. This is in part one of the reasons why your card is running so slow. AMD still thinks that people buy their graphics cards to play video games, like World of Warcraft here. See, here I am in World of Warcraft, running around. I can jump, I can wave. And graphics cards are really good at doing this sort of thing. More importantly, for what we're going to talk about today, they're also really good at solving the hashing algorithms that allow us to mine cryptocurrency. If you leave the driver in its default settings, you're going to have fantastic views of this scrolling of numbers. It's going to look amazing. It's not really going to help you mine faster, which is what we really want to accomplish. And so what we need to do is we need to replace the default driver with one that's optimized for mining. And thankfully, AMD has come to their senses a little bit and realized, hey, maybe people do some mining on the side with these cards. And so they created a beta version of a driver that is optimized specifically for mining. And so we're going to go get that driver, and I'm going to show you how to install it. Okay, so we're going to close out of Radeon settings. We're going to open up a web browser. We're going to navigate to the new driver for the blockchain driver. And all of our links are on our webpage or in the Show More section below, and we'll also list them at the end of this video. Once you've navigated to the blockchain driver, you can also just Google it. You're going to scroll down, and there are 3 versions. One for 64-bit, one for 32-bit, and one for Windows 7. And you want to make sure you select the correct version for your operating system, which for us is the 64-bit version for Windows 10. There are also directions on how to install it if you want to follow the directions from the official guide. But I'll show you now. And just click on it, download it. And with the wonders of video editing, we can fast forward this and make it speed up to get you to the next step. Once it's downloaded, find it in your Downloads folder, double-click it to open it. And then click Install. And you'll see it start to extract everything. Once again, we can speed this process up. And after a moment, it will launch the license agreement, which you should click Accept and Install. Then you have some choices. It'll show you your current driver on the left, which in this case is 17.40. It'll suggest a recommended driver, which is at the current time of this recording 18.2, or an optional 18.3, but the one that you want is 17.3, the one that says local driver. So click that one. And then you want to click Express Install. Once you click this, it'll start the installation process. You'll get to see some really cool advertisements from AMD. I'm not going to show this to you. We're just going to jump right ahead to the next step. Once the driver is correctly installed, you will get an option to also install a program called Radeon Relive. It's for gaming. You don't need it, so you can skip that step. And then it will ask you to reboot or restart your computer, and you're going to want to do that now. Once your machine has rebooted, we're just going to go ahead and launch our mining software again, just to see how things are progressing and see if we've made any upgrades to the 15 to 16 megahash per second that we were seeing before. And so simply by, here you can see, simply by changing the driver to a driver that's optimized for blockchain, we're seeing an improvement. So now we're seeing the cards are mining at about 22, 23, 24 megahash per second. So it's definitely improvement, but I think we can do better. We also have another problem with this driver in that the mining program is only seeing one fan and one temperature speed. That's because something is misset on the driver itself in the settings. So we're going to click on the desktop, right-click, go to Radeon settings again to bring up the Radeon settings, click Gaming, and then click the Global Settings button again. And so here we can see that the settings show both cards, but that there's a setting that's turned on that's making the cards act as if they're one card, and that's called AMD Crossfire. And we don't need that for mining. And so we're going to go ahead and turn that to off. And once you do that, it's going to ask to restart the AMD Radeon settings program. So go ahead and click OK to that. And it might take a short while for it to come back up. It can usually take 1 to 2 minutes for the card to reset and for the program to come back up. All right, so once that's done, we're going to restart our miner and check to see how things are going here. And things are still the same, mining at about 23, 22, 24 megahash per second, although now it recognizes both cards. So we still need to do more work to maximize the cards, get them up to about 30 megahash per second. And that next step is going to involve actually changing things on the ROM of the graphics cards themselves. And so this is where things get a little hairy, so grab another drink. All right, what we're going to do in this next step is, this is part 2 of the tutorial, is we're going to modify the GPU BIOS. We're going to need some programs to do that. They're all again listed at the end of the tutorial on our webpage and also in the Show More section on YouTube. What we're going to do first is we're going to get a program called ATI Flash. Navigate to that link. Download it. Like whichever download site is closest to you. And if you want a description of why we're doing what we're doing, check out our webpage. The written tutorial kind of walks you through the whys and the hows and the reasons that we're going to do this next step. Once you've downloaded it, you can go to the Downloads folder, open up the folder. You want to click on the file that says ATI WinFlash. When you do that, it's going to ask if you want to extract all the folders and say, yeah, extract all. And then once you've done that, Now the little icon turns red, and so you can right-click it. But you need to run this as administrator, so right-click it, and then select Run as Administrator. And that'll bring up a program that looks like this. As you can see, I have 2 graphics cards, and it lists them. You may have more, you may have less. The red squiggly hash thing and the button show which graphics card you're working with right now, so that's the first one. There's my second one. What we're going to do first is we're going to make a backup copy of our current BIOS, the original BIOS, so we don't screw it up. We can revert back to it if things go horribly wrong. So to do that, you're just simply going to click the Save button. You're going to give it a name that makes it clear that it's the original, and you're not going to mess with it. So you might just call it original BIOS1.ROM. Then you're just going to click Save. And when that's done, it'll tell you that it saved it. And then we're going to repeat the process on the same graphics card. Just click the Save button again. And this time, we're going to give it a new name. We're going to call it Mod or Modified BIOS1. I like to give it a descriptive name. In this case, I'm going to call it 580, 8 for 8 gigabytes. And this is going to be the first graphics card, so I'll put a .1. And this is going to be the BIOS that we're actually going to screw around with and alter the values in it. So go ahead and save that. Once you've done that, now you have to repeat the process for every graphics card that you have. So you'll see me go to the second one, make that active. We're going to save an original copy. In this case, we'll call it original BIOS2.ROM. Save it. And then when that's done, we're going to do it once more and create a modifiable copy of the second card, which we'll call it mod BIOS2.ROM. And once that's done, you can click OK and close this program. All right, so we're going to go back to our browser. We've got to download a third program called Polaris BIOS Editor. And this is the program that we're going to use to alter the settings on the GPU BIOS. It's the GitHub link in the descriptions and on the web page. And this version of Polaris BIOS Editor has been edited by an author named Jack and Shack, so he gets all the credit for this. There's a reason we want to download this particular one. There's lots of different versions of Polaris BIOS Editor that have been written by different people. So you're going to go where it says clone or download. You're going to download it as a zip file. Once it's downloaded, go ahead and show it in the folder. Double click it, open the folder. All right, go ahead and open this folder and double click the application. It's going to ask you to extract everything again, so go ahead and do that. Once that's done, you can go back in the folder, right click on the application, run as administrator. And this will launch the Polaris BIOS Editor. You're going to get a warning message next, and you need to say yes to this warning message. We'll talk a little bit about what it's telling you there a little bit later, but go ahead and agree to it for now. And click Open BIOS. Now what you're going to do is you're going to navigate back to that ATI flash folder that you downloaded, because that's where the BIOS ROMs are that we set up. And again, we're not going to touch the originals, leave those alone, no touchy. Instead, you're going to open the modified version of it, so pick mod 1 first, and go ahead and open that up. When it does that, you're going to see all sorts of numbers and codes related to your graphics card. Some of these relate to the vendor, Some of them relate to the manufacturer, the size of the card, so on and so forth, the type of memory. You can see information about in a drop-down menu. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner are the memory timings. And that's the stuff we're actually going to screw around with on the card. We're going to reprogram this card so that the memory timings for some settings are going to be copied over to the memory settings for other settings. And there's a whole world of information on the web about which ones you copy to where. And I've tried this dozens and dozens of times, never with any luck until I found Jack and Check's, which has his Polaris BIOS editor has this one-click timing patch. And that's beautiful because you're just going to click that button rather than having to copy and paste anything. It's going to tell you what it's copying. You say OK. Mine has two different kinds of memory, so it's going to make me say OK twice. And that's it. It's done the cut and the copy and the pasting all for me. I don't have to do anything other than click that button and then save it as something else. So I'm going to give it a new name. Take me a minute to think of something creative. I'm going to call it mod 5808.1, something creative. That's creative. 501a.rom. Hit save. All right, now we got to do the other card. You're going to do this for each one of your cards. If you have more than that. Just going to close the program out, relaunch it just to be safe. Acknowledge the important message. Open. This time we're going to open not the originals again. Don't touch those. This is the mod 5808.2 card. Again, all you got to do is click that magic button down in the corner there, agree to it, and then save it as. Give it another creative name, mod BIOS 2A. Save that. You have to do this for each of the cards in your mining rig. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and close out of this program. And then you want to navigate back to where your ATI Flash program is again. So you're going to run ATI WinFlash again, right-click it, run it as administrator. What we're going to do this time is we're going to actually load those BIOSes that we've modified, those new ones that we made. We're going to load those in, and we're going to do something called flashing the BIOS. So click Load Image, scroll down and find the ones that you made in the Polaris BIOS editor. For me, it's 1A. And just click Open on that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click the Program button. You're going to click that, and it's going to start flashing the card with its new instructions. Now's a good time to take a couple deep breaths. This can take anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes. When it's done, it'll say your card has been flashed successfully. The next thing it's going to ask you is to restart, and we want to say no because we still have to do one more card in our instance. Say no here, and go select the next card, the button for the next card. Go back and load the image. We're going to find mod 5808.2a. That's the one we created with the correct or the new timing. We're going to load that one up. We're going to click the Program button again. Take more deep breaths. Again, this should take a couple minutes. And again, you have to do this for every card that's in your system. Again, it's going to ask you to restart once it's successfully programmed the second card. Again, you want to say no. Even if you're done flashing cards, you want to say no to this. Because there's one more really important step that we have to go through that involves downloading another program. One of the problems with reprogramming the GPU BIOS is that AMD drivers no longer recognize the cards as correctly digitally signed. So we have to trick it into thinking that these cards are correctly signed. And so you're going to go and you're going to download a program called AMD ATI Pixel Clock Patcher. And the links again are in the web page or the Show More section. You can go ahead and download that program. It's a small program. You're going to open it up. And it's a very easy program to run. You just open it up and double click it. And it's going to find your cards, and it's going to say found. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to click the yes button. It'll take a few seconds. It'll come back and it'll say they've been patched correctly. Once you've done that, you can close out of all your programs, and now is the time to restart your computer. As you do this, as your computer is restarting, now would be a perfect time to make whatever offerings you deem appropriate to the GPU gods. Cross your fingers, hope for the best as we restart your machine here. Okay, if everything went well, your screen comes back up, everything looks happy, you'll go ahead and start your miner and see if we've made any progress. If things didn't go well, you're going to be looking at a screen like this, and this means we're in a whole world of hurt. We've got to do some corrective measures. You're going to want to check out our troubleshooting guide to correcting some of the problems that we've created. We're going to assume that everything went swimmingly though, and so now our miner is booting back up, and hopefully we should see something closer to 30 megahash per second for these 580 8GB cards. And we're already sitting at actually 30 megahash per second on each of the cards. So we're about as good as we're going to get out of these cards. I am going to show you one more tip to tweak the cards even further. If you're at 28, 27 megahash per second, we're going to download one more program. It is actually called MSI Afterburner. You can just Google it, or you can get the link from our website or in the comments. And MSI Afterburners are going to allow us to change the clock settings and the memory settings on the card. So go ahead and download that. And then once that's downloaded, we're going to go ahead and install it. Same way we've installed all these other programs. As this is installing, I should say that the settings we're going to use for Afterburner are going to depend on the graphics card that you've got. I've got a 580 8GB card here. You might have other vendors, you might have other cards. And it's also going to depend on what you're mining. So the particular settings that I'm setting don't necessarily apply to what you're going to be tweaking here. I'm just going to show you that you can tweak the graphics card further using this program by entering new values for overclocking and for the memory clock. All right, so we're going to go ahead and launch this program now. All right, so here's Afterburner. And a couple things, you'll see the clock speed as well as the memory clock. And if you click where it says GPU, you can see all of your cards. I have 2 cards. I'm toggling back and forth between them. The important thing is that you have numbers in these 2 spaces here. If you have zeros there, that means something is very unhappy with one of your cards. We're going to have to debug that using our troubleshooting guide. But in our case, both those values have numbers for both cards, and so we're in business here. You can click in any of these settings and adjust them. Some of these things are tethered, like the power is usually tethered to the temperature limit. You can drop the power down if you want to try and save on electricity consumption. You can up the core clock, you can decrease it. In this case, we're actually decreasing it by a little bit. We're going to increase the memory clock. And again, the rhyme and reason behind doing this is beyond the scope of this particular tutorial, but you can check out some of our other tutorials on our website for the specifics behind it. The other thing you can actually do is you can actually, once you've tailored things the way you want, you can actually save the profiles. So you can save them into slots for later use. When you close the program, you can come back and just simply click on the button corresponding to the profile to load in all those settings. Now we're going to check our miner one last time. In this case, it's not going to make any difference by changing these settings. And the reason is because when I set up my miner, I already put the settings directly into the code that runs the Claymore miner, and so it was already running the mining program with the clock speed set to 2150, or with the memory set to 2150 and the clock speed set to 1135. So there are multiple ways you can accomplish this. Sometimes you can do it right in the program. Other times you can do it right through MSI Afterburner. I just wanted to show you that that's one additional way to get a little bit extra out of the cards to get them running at peak performance. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out some of our other tutorial videos at thesavvyminer.com. And if you found our site particularly helpful, don't hesitate to hit that tip jar on thesavvyminer.com to throw some crypto coin our way to promote future tutorials and videos. Happy mining.